This is a strong support question. We can tell because we're going to be completing the argument. So they're going to provide the premises. It's our job to provide the conclusion. And the fact that they give us this fill in the blank means it should be really anticipatable. So we're going to try to put these facts together and come up with something that they strongly support. Now in this case, we can also sort of follow the tone. We've got a negative contrast word here. So whatever is mentioned above, we're going to be kind of going against it by the time we get to the bottom. So these proponents of the electric car think that it's going to be really great for the environment. It's going to result in an abatement, which means you totally get rid of something. An abatement of the environmental degradation caused by auto emissions. So we're no longer going to be damaging the environment with auto emissions. Problem's going to totally go away. But, and so you can already kind of tell that we're going to argue that the problem's not going to go away. Let's get into the specifics though. Unless we dam more rivers, the electricity to charge these batteries is going to come from nuclear or coal-fired power plants. So essentially that's saying if we don't dam more rivers, the power for electric cars, it's going to have to come from one of these two sources. So what I kind of did here is a partial contrapositive. You could say, we could have put this not damming rivers on the left here. If we don't dam more rivers and we're powering our cars, then we've got to use either nuclear power or coal-fired plants. But you can change the negation on this guy and bring it over. It was originally attached with an and, so you change that too, it becomes an or. And essentially, we can restate this as, in order to power our electric cars, we have three options. We can dam rivers, nuclear power, or coal-fired plants. All three of these cause significant damage. And so the point here is that charging up the battery is still going to hurt the environment. The electric car is not going to result in an abatement of environmental degradation. It's not going to be a complete solution to the environmental problems caused by regular cars. So let's go ahead and look for that in the answer choices. Remember, we have a preference for weaker answers here on strong support questions. Weaker answers are easier to back up. Strong answer choices are going to raise a red flag. But ultimately, the criteria is this guaranteed or strongly supported by the facts in the passage? Am I 99% sure this is true or 100% sure this is true? And so A says the electric car is going to have worse consequences than its proponents may believe. Well, in order to make this comparison, we need to know what the proponents believe. And going back to this terrible vocabulary sand trap, the proponents believe it's going to have zero environmental damage. So are we saying it's going to be worse than that? Well, yeah, we're saying it's going to have some environmental damage. And some environmental damage is worse than zero. So yes, this is strongly supported by the passage. It's not going to be perfect. It's still going to do some damage. And the proponents think that it's going to do no damage. And so A is guaranteed by the passage, actually. But let's talk about what's wrong with B, C, D, and E. We don't really know how popular they're going to be. This is out of scope. We haven't made any claims about their popularity, so we can't back that up. Requires that purely technical problems be solved before it can succeed. We never mention that. We don't know what's getting in the way of the electric car being widely adopted. We don't know that it's technical problems. Will increase the total level of emissions rather than reduce it. Well, that's too far. We're not saying that it's worse than regular cars. We're just saying that it's not perfect. That's the whole point. Its proponents think it's going to be perfect, and we're saying it's not. It's still going to do some damage because you got to charge the batteries up, right? So answer choice E is the most tempting wrong answer choice. It says that the electric car is not going to produce a net reduction in environmental damage or problems. That's how we can think of degradation. So are we saying it's not going to help? No, it might be way better than normal cars. The argument is saying it's not going to take us down to zero, but it could help, right? It could definitely, whatever damage we do charging the batteries, that could be way less than our gasoline engines are doing. So answer choice E is too strong. We're not saying that answer choice E is essentially saying it's not going to help. And I actually want to hit this in red because it's not a right answer. Answer choice E says it's not going to be better than our current cars. It's not going to reduce the environmental damage that we're currently doing with gasoline cars. So not better than gasoline cars. That's not supported by the passage. It could be better than gasoline cars. What A is saying is that it's not going to be perfect for the environment. And that's what the passage supports. Because its proponents think it's going to be perfect for the environment. It's going to do zero damage. And the passage supports the idea that that's not true. It's going to do some damage, but it could be better than gasoline cars. And so E isn't supported by the passage. A is the one that you want to get into. And this really hinges on getting a proper understanding of what the proponents believe, recognizing that they believe it's going to do zero damage. It kind of hinges on knowing what an abatement means. That means a total removal of something.